What up, guys? Strictly for mental health, specifically about mental health. I want you guys to not be alone and feel struggling. 28, come join. I'd really love to talk about it.
Okay, we have today Lauren Kleiman, and you're our very first guest on the new Coop's Advice podcast series that we're launching. This is season 3, but this is a new series called Let's Talk. And Let's Talk is designed to, in the past we've had a lot of my son's friends. He was an influencer, he is an artist, upcoming model and actor. So we've interviewed all those close people that his millions of followers wanted to see and hear about their story. And we've also interviewed people that have been important in this journey with us, because today's 38 months. So it's kind of hard for me today, because it's every 9th of each month is an anniversary of when he passed. And like I was telling Zedge, our producer, earlier, I was up all night last night because we get tributes from kids all around the world making edits and video edits and social media posts in a tribute to him. And then I saw on Grok, they have this cool new video generator. So I was taking photos of him and I creating really cool videos before anybody else did it, maybe in a poor, tasteful manner. And so it's a challenging day, but this new series, we've been getting so many of like my peer group that's asked for more information and want to hear from politicians, law enforcement, other people that are similar in the space, grieving parents that don't know what to do, looking for information, concerned, scared of what might be going on in their home. So we have a whole series of interviews coming up next in that space, more towards the adult understanding of how dangerous fentanyl is in our society. And I'm very careful with the words that I use, because it's not fentanyl overdoses. Hey guys, this is a brief announcement. I want to encourage you to support the Coop's Advice Foundation, which makes this podcast possible, by visiting our merch store at coopsadvice.org. We just dropped a new merch line, a special design collaboration between Cooper and Robert Vidal of Wants that no one knew about until earlier this year. 100% of the net proceeds go directly to the Coop's Advice Foundation, helping us raise awareness and educate others about the dangers of fentanyl poisoning. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us grow our channel and keeps this important conversations going. Love you more.
There's poisoning.
It's fentanyl poisonings.
Yeah.
There are overdoses. I met online 2 days ago the second person in 3 years and 2 months that actually uses fentanyl or used fentanyl. Everybody else
Had no idea.
Had
they
no
were
idea.
ingesting it.
So, and how I make this definition, why it's so important, and we're trying to see about getting the vernacular changed at the legal level, the coroners and at the detective level, investigation level, because you could go to my son's report in the LA County Coroner and it says, overdose, fentanyl overdose. Wasn't an overdose. An overdose is where you've taken something
You took too much of something.
and you willingly, you made the choice.
Sure.
But if I gave you a water and it had fentanyl in it, you're getting poisoned. So when we have 6 people indicted by the federal government sitting in jail awaiting final disposition in December, 2 for his death, that's a poisoning. That's what they're getting prosecuted for his death. So that's not an overdose.
Yeah.
So
No, it's an important distinction.
So words are important. So
Well, I am honored to help you kick off this next
Yeah,
chapter.
thank you.
And I know you are marking, I think, both the anniversary of his death and his birthday, right? He had summer.
yeah, that was a tough time, because Coop, his birthday was June 28th. And so on June 9th, he passed away. June 10th is my birthday. So the next day I started getting, like in the middle of the night, all these Facebook messages and happy birthday and da-da-da. So I had to make an announcement early on the 10th, because it's a world clock, because he was very famous around the world. Hey, you guys, appreciate it, but I gotta let you know what happened. So we have informally in our house, moved my birthday to December 10th, so we could at least celebrate it without the, it's a tough time during that month. So,
Well, I've listened to a lot of your previous podcasts in preparation for coming here. I've listened
thanks.
to a lot of other podcasts about fentanyl deaths and a lot of, just a lot of pain out there,
Yeah.
right? So I can't fathom what your family has been through and what you go through every single day.
you can't, and I'll tell you this, it's my hope and prayer that you never go through that, because we have our natural circle of life of things that are going to happen. Parents pass away, somebody gets cancer, but God forbid you ever lose a child. Forever changed my life. And I never thought I would be in this position at this age, and this part of my life. I had different plans for it, but I'll say this, if it wasn't for my faith in God, I wouldn't be here. But because of my faith in God, I know that there's a reason and a purpose. And so the things I went through to get to the point of really at that point of asking God, okay, what is it you want me to do with this? The things that happened that are inexplainable, that I felt from Cooper, and the things that are absolutely not possible, and with proof, physical proof they're not possible, my whole life changed at that moment. It was like, okay, what do you want me to do? Things started opening up. Never thought we'd have a foundation. Never thought I would be doing podcasts. Never thought I'd be involved as an advocate, being involved in legal process. And this whole thing with, expanding and being a liaison with the DEA, being involved in a full-length, legit documentary, things of this sort, and kids around the world. Literally, Coop started this Discord platform a week before he passed away. It's still 170,000 kids active. We chat every day. Kids are getting, making better decisions and not dying. We have not lost one kid in that Discord
That's
that I'm aware of.
incredible.
And so, hey, you know what? You being here, as, part of the Newport Beach, council, mayor pro tem,
I do want to just take a moment and express gratitude to you for pouring your grief into sharing Coop's story
Thanks.
and the message, because it's so important and you have touched so many lives. And honestly, I don't know what thoughts you have about what you want to talk about today, but I don't think there's anything that anyone in local or any level of government that can really do more than what you've been doing, touching
thank
the
you.
lives that you've touched.
That's
truly.
very kind. But I feel that the more that we have this conversation, and with people that may have some influence in their world, if we can save one life, it's a success. So what if we can save 2 or 3? And you never know when someone might reach out, a parent or a kid or a teacher or a coach or a mentor or a doctor, and that's the difference where you might understand and connect. I've learned that kids, and as a parent of 2, I've learned that, and we've had a great relationship with our kids. We're not the family that our kid was, a massive drug addict, living on, getting kicked out of the house, multiple rehabs, living on homeless of that. You see those stories? No, he was a loving kid. We were all close. He and his sister, best friends, girlfriend, his girlfriend, best friend with my daughter, her boyfriend. Just open talk, close, emotional. But I've learned that your children will tell you 99% on the best day, but they won't tell you that one thing that is going to hurt you or disappoint you. But they'll tell somebody else because it bothers them, and they need that platform, and they need that space to feel okay to talk about it, because it may be someone else that helps them process it. And that's what this is all about. Underlying all this is the mental health aspect of, why are you choosing to do this to yourself, to take this choice? to self-medicate or soothe or whatever. That's where we really need to get to on a global scale in our country. But I think that's a ways away,
Yeah, we've had, unfortunately, just hit after hit. We had the opioid crisis, we had the pandemic. I don't think that our community has recovered. Kids in particular were hit really hard, just siloed in a time when you're already struggling and going through hormonal changes, and to be alone with your thoughts and disconnected.
Immediately, abruptly.
Right.
I think we're going to look back, Lauren, at the 2020s, this decade, the decade of COVID, and the decade of fentanyl, and the decade of a generation being attempted to be wiped out. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. And we'll see that, I think, if we get in the next decade and look back. Because we're making a lot of progress with this. But my fear is that the message is fading, or the concern's fading from the public view, and we need to keep pressed on it. Thankfully, all politics aside, President Trump enacted like this, signed off on this, I guess they called it a secret bill or a secret authority last night to go after all of the cartel activity in Latin America, saying basically it's not at the border any longer. We're rooting this out. We're rooting out these cartels. He also, a few days ago, they increased the bounty on Maduro from Venezuela, sending all these, the gangs and their own cartels of drugs, et cetera, $50 million for his head, to bring him to justice. But said, no, we're gonna go eradicate this.
Well, we certainly can't rely on our state legislature,
No.
unfortunately. I can't understand why. I mean, it's difficult to move the needle on anything, but on this, I just can't understand why anybody wouldn't fight for all the protections they could possibly put in place.
It makes sense that when they're threatened or they're concerned, they got or want all the protections. So it's a little bit of it's a hill that I don't die on that one. I tell you, you guys got to figure that stuff out. These opposition to just common sense protection, of our citizens and our homeland. I mean, I think that's what the Constitution was designed about. I think that's what freedom is. I think that's why we came here and settled in North America.
This is why what you're doing is so important, because the education piece, unless and until we get to the point where this is just not available, and obviously, we've seen the war on drugs, unfortunately, doesn't seem to ever end and doesn't work. But the more you can make people understand that this is an issue, and again, we've been talking about this in our home. Unfortunately for our son, I take my work home with me, and he gets to hear all about whatever I'm working on at any given time. We talk a lot about homelessness and
Right.
The complex layered issue that is. So we've been talking a lot about this the last couple of weeks as I've been kind of researching it further. And I'm sure he thinks I'm crazy because I've been smothering him every night before he goes to sleep.
Have you
Just-
actually brought up the topic about drugs and fentanyl?
Absolutely.
Really? And how does that conversation go? I mean, because we didn't have that conversation at 13 with our son. It was about what we kind of learned. And a lot of parents were like, I brought the subject to them, it was like, well, by the time they're about 5th or 6th grade, they know about sex and they know about drugs. And they're getting introduced to it by the kids that are like 8th, 9th grade and, freshmen and whatever, their older brothers, siblings, or the friends. Whether they're doing it or not, by the time they're about 7th grade, yeah, they've probably had sex. To some degree. They've probably tried something to some degree, definitely by 8th grade. So not a lot of life experience there behind these choices. And they certainly don't understand the minefield that's out there that wasn't there certainly when you were growing up and absolutely when I was growing up. So how does that conversation go? How's it received? What's his reaction like?
He gets overwhelmed with a lot of information, things that are certainly over his head, but if it doesn't resonate now and if he doesn't understand it today, he will at some point. And you and I were talking offline beforehand about technology and how, he does not have a phone, to his dismay, but so far.
Does he argue with you about that? Does he want one because everybody else has one?
He definitely wants one. He knows not to ask. He knows it's it's a
Damn, you're a good
non-starter.
parent, man. Because, everybody else just caves. They're like, forget it, man. It's a battle. Just put them on the dinner table and put the iPad and we go to dinner and like, whatever. Babysitter, right?
I'm sure
Non-filtered content babysitter when you're not there.
He's not pleased about it. It probably causes him to be a little bit of a social leper. But I just want to keep him a kid as long as I can. And I say that at the same time that I'm saying we're also having dinner conversation about fentanyl overdose and poisonings and what that means. But I was at an event yesterday, State of the County, where Sheriff Don Barnes was speaking, and he spoke for the longest period of time out of his allotment about fentanyl and about the poisonings and the overdoses. And he talked about how almost 100% of street drugs have fentanyl in them now. And so that is a message that I can take home, and my son can understand that.
Yes.
Whatever you think you got it from a friend or someone said, don't worry, it's not, right? Just assume that it's not.
Hey guys, this is a brief announcement. Just a few weeks before his passing, Cooper reached out to the organization End Overdose to offer his support for their life-saving mission. End Overdose is a nonprofit organization dedicated to ending drug-related overdose deaths through education, medical intervention, and public awareness. They provide free online training on how to use naloxone, a medication that can reverse opioid overdoses and save lives. To date, End Overdose has distributed over 500,000 naloxone kits, trained more than 581,000 people, launched 50 college campus chapters across the country. Please visit endoverdose.net to learn more and support their continued efforts to save lives. That's endoverdose.net. Thank you, everybody. Love you more. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The message when I get the opportunity to speak to someone, parent or kid, the perspective of my talk with them is I want to empower you with the information. I don't want to tell you don't do something because you're going to just tune it out, not think that I know what I'm talking about, and you're probably going to want to do it. It's just kind of human nature for younger human beings. So I'm just straight up with them and talk to them like an adult. I just say, look, I try to keep things. This is my spiel, and I keep it very simple. Said, look, I like to keep things from this standpoint. You're going to have to make a choice. You're going to hear this from your parents. You're going to hear it from school, all that. It's going to be, don't do this. But no one's going to be there, and you have to make that decision when you feel the peer pressure, or you're at a party, or you like some girl or guy, and to fit in, and they're drinking, and it's like, hey, try this. And that's how it all develops. But you have to make that decision. No one's going to make it for you. No one's going to rescue you on that one. It's your decision. So I just want to give you the information so that my hope is you make a positive and healthy choice versus a negative and unhealthy choice. So these are the things you need to know.
Yeah.
That what's an illicit drug and what's not an illicit drug.
And it's just so easy nowadays, right? Whether you have a phone or you don't, these things wind up in someone's hands.
Yep.
And
They're
if you
so
do have
easily
a phone,
available with your
Snapchat,
phone.
all of these ways to get something delivered
Telegram,
to
WhatsApp, all the disappearing stuff. But when these kids start listening, and I go, I'm going to tell you what it's like, and I'm going to give you a couple examples. One is an illicit drug, meaning it's a drug that doesn't come from a U.S. pharmacy, that 100% that came from a pharmacy and it's real, like your mom got it from you and gave it to you, or you went and picked it up. Not that you trusted your friend that it came from that, or you're absolutely sure. Because if it didn't come from a pharmacy, if it's illicit, it's a 70% chance it has a lethal dose of fentanyl. 70, okay? And this is in not just like, pain medication, Percocets and OxyContin and all that. It's in Xanax, fake Xanax, fake antidepressants. It's in fake Adderall, which is a big prescription for helping kids, not for ADHD, but for test performance and getting ready for college. It's in weed that doesn't come from dispensaries. It's in vape cartridges that are not regulated. It's in everything. 70% chance you're going to die. So let's just do this. I'll give them this example. Are you hungry? You fly by. Let's go get a pizza. Get a pizza for everybody, and I'm buying. You get whatever you want. It's like where I live, it's half a mile from North Laguna to Z Pizza. You just got to go, pick it, bring it back. Oh, but there's a 70% chance you're going to die in a fatal car crash for the pizza, but I'm paying for it. Would you get in the car and go? And they're like, I start laughing like, no. And I go, that's the world you're in. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So my hope is you'll make a healthy and positive choice, because in life, you can make healthy and positive choices, but you're still going to get negative things that happen. Parents get sick, somebody gets cancer, someone drives through an intersection and kills somebody, girlfriend, boyfriend breaks up with you. But you just don't need to pile this on yourself with an overwhelming decision that could kill you and prevent you from enjoying this beautiful life ahead. Our son was on his way to a Bible study, and his drug of addiction was Xanax. And when I frame my conversations now with everyone being 3 years out, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things in a lot of different areas. I just didn't know. I didn't know how prevalent fentanyl was. I didn't know it was greater at that point in time, 70%. I didn't know this tiny granule salt was enough that was lethal, can't smell, can't taste it, can't see it, and it's packed into everything. I didn't know that the antidepressants, like they're called the benzodiazepines, the Klonopins, the Xanaxes, there are 2 drugs out there that you cannot detox yourself from without running the risk of dying from detoxing, that you need medical help. Benzos and alcohol. It's not heroin. It's not opioids. It is the benzodiazepines, the antidepressants, and alcohol. It has to be monitored in the hospital with a doctor. You can physically die, your body shut down. Didn't know that. Xanax is prescribed, like just to calm you down and get through your life. I talked to my wife about this, and I go, Treva, I'm not to be condescending with anyone, but how many people do you know that have been taking this stuff prescribed, for years, because they're struggling with their day, might be premenopausal, might be whatever, right? Our son got introduced to Xanax had a rough flight when he was 10 in Greece, and then he really struggled with anxiety after that, and really struggled, and it was like, give him half a Xanax, it'll help him. It clicked. For some reason, it clicked with him. He went through a lot of social anxiety at school, being short, being Hispanic, thin and skinny, and then when the school suggested that he's ADHD, he needs to be in a box, give him Adderall, he was this happy, funny, active kid. Went to this, I don't eat, I don't sleep, morose, depressed.
Muted.
Yeah. And it wasn't that. It was like super smart, boring, not engaged. When we finally had a teacher in high school that said, this kid's really smart, I have to give him extra things to do, and it keeps him going. And if I see him start tapping out, I send him for a long walk to the office to go around the football field. Then he comes back with some endorphins.
Yeah.
See, that's the good stimulants.
Right.
And
the
so,
natural way to get there.
Coop was on his way to a Bible study, and he had started taking Xanax again. There were some things that went on in his life that he was struggling with. So you go to the go-to. I think that's kind of human nature. And he knew that it was becoming a problem. He tried to detox for 3 days. And what we guess is that to get through the Bible study, I just need to take something to get me through this day and I can continue to do so. And he went to get one from someone that he trusted and said this guy was legit. He met this person in a mall that was getting his hair cut. He made it to the parking lot and died in the parking lot.
Where does that prosecution stand?
What I can tell you, because it's still an active prosecution, there are 6 people that have been indicted by the, from an investigation from a combination of the DEA, FBI, IRS, sheriffs, and local police in LA. Head of a drug ring, like they basically call the DoorDash drug ring, it was like a Snapchat thing. That person, his wife was the money launderer of the operation. They're cartel related. His brother, a lieutenant, and of several delivery people, 2 were there, so that's a total of 5. And fortunately, they've been investigating this person for a long time, trying to get enough, convictable evidence, because that's what drives us. We're very good about not breaking protocol and communication. But there's this other guy that was lateral, who was an older, he's like in his 40s, that Cooper was recommended by someone that he trusted. You can get his Xanax from him. This guy got it from this guy because they were friends. And how they communicated after Cooper passed away, there was the evidence. So then it took another 1.5 years of exhaustive investigation, and then everybody was raided. The evidence is overwhelming. This is the part that's going to even get sick. They're arrested, indicted. We've gone through all these processes of their due process of bail and all that. I've been fortunate. I've gotten to speak at every one of those. Bail denied, not going anywhere. Flight risk, they're still going to do the same thing. You let them out, they're gone. You let them out, they're going to kill. So Cooper passed away on June 9th, 2022. Directly after that, these guys are talking about that they're aware that you sold me stuff with fentanyl, this kid died, da-da-da. So they implicated themselves, which led to trying to get as many people as they could. In April, right after that, the guy that sold Cooper the stuff, who called him my boy, this guy was influencer in kind of the Hollywood group. 2 weeks later, he takes a month or 2-month trip to Europe, partying. No remorse, nothing else. 1.5 years later, it was right before Thanksgiving of the following year, when the raid came in. They do these raids like at 4 or 5 in the morning. He was coming from a Friendsgiving party, wasted. They got him at home, wasted. Bag full of drugs, scales, things of that sort. Did it change his behavior? The fact that he killed somebody? No. The main drug dealer, April. So we're talking, I think it's about 8 months before that Thanksgiving. He just got indicted a few weeks ago for a second death. Right after Cooper's, same thing. So this is the head of the drug ring.
Who was the other person?
Another young 23-year-old girl, and it's pretty locked. So they're putting the cases together. There's been some plea agreements fronted. I don't know if these guys are going to go to court, which I think is kind of stupid, in my opinion. It would be bad counsel. And I think they're facing 20 to life for distribution of a Schedule I that resulted in death. So there's no first warning like DUI. Okay, it's like DUI, you get educated unless there's bodily injury or a death involved. So you get this warning, you have to cross this hurdle in the state of California. If it wasn't for the federal government, none of this would happen. When it happened, they were ready to close it. It happened in Burbank. The detective on the case, he was given the case from the coroners. They were ready to shut it down as an accidental overdose. He thought something was right and asked, will I by any chance have access to Cooper's phone? Because, the encryption, getting it, you're not going to get it from Apple. They've already fought that fight, and they're not going to do it. So he just thought he'd ask, and thinking it would happen. I go, oh yeah, I handled all his business and stuff. Yeah, here's the code. And then he came back and says, we're going to get back to you. So I could tell something was going. That's where they got the evidence. And
Is it helpful for you to piece it together?
Oh, yes.
So you understand?
Yes. It's nobody gets any solace or any justice from their kids dying from being poisoned. It's less than 1% ever gets to a point of being indicted, let alone convicted. If it wasn't for the federal government, it's basically zero. Because the time Ann Lundgren, who was the head of the DEA, made this a passion of hers. I liken her to like Phil Jackson, Pat Riley. She is, her culture from the top all the way down, this is the number one priority of the moment, is to eradicate fentanyl and curtail these deaths. So she reached out, the message went to everybody. She visited everybody. You as DEA agents, particularly like in these states like LA, reach out to local law enforcement. If you think you got something there, not sure, give it to us. We have the resources. Let us run with it. Most of these guys are just like, it's not going to go anywhere. They would close it, move on. This one young detective in Burbank felt that like something didn't sit right. And then when he got access to Cooper's phone, he brought them in. And it just so happened that if he didn't, this is what they were waiting for because they already been investigating these guys. And so, how many more lives did they save? We know that there's been others. I know of another parent who lost a son to this group, but there's not enough convictable evidence. Actually, there's 2 others. There's just not enough. You have to have enough
I'm
evidence.
sure there's countless others.
Countless, but
you don't know.
in
You
that
can't put
small
faces
percentage,
to.
at less than 1%, yes, it'll give us some closure to a degree, but I also feel that this way that we're also getting justice for others through this that are not going to get it, and they're never going to really maybe feel 100% because it wasn't their kid, but it's our kids to get these fucking guys away. So.
Well, I did pull some stats. We had 6 fentanyl-related deaths in Newport Beach in 2024. 2 of those were 24-year-olds. The others were, I think, 38 to 57.
Was this the Balboa Island ones too, or is that before that?
That was before
That
that.
was that was a lot of notoriety because those were, I'm not saying middle-aged adults, but almost middle-aged adults doing coke, and they all freaking die.
It's interesting. We also have an aging population that's now getting their otherwise prescription medications from alternative sources because of the cost of them. And those are laced with fentanyl. So we're starting to see those numbers rise.
Remember I said when talking to you about what I say to young kids like your son, like about a bona fide pharmacy? In Mexico, the legitimate pharmacies, 35 to 40% laced with a lethal dose of fentanyl. Mm-hmm. So we have people going there to get their, Botox, their filler, their antibiotics, their prescription antidepressants, maybe even, pain medication, other stuff. That's a big risk. You can't even trust the legit pharmacies in Mexico. So it's like, why would you guys think like this and do this?
Yeah.
But
in comparison, the countywide statistics obviously are much greater, although according to the sheriff's presentation yesterday, Orange County is faring way better than the state. Of course, when you're talking about death statistics, it's, one death is too many, particularly a young life.
It is. It's the leading cause of death in people in the United States between 15 and 49 now. It was 45. It's 15 and 49. Leading cause of death. which is insane with all the other things out there, greater than, gunshot killings and related to, guns and things of that sort. It's the equivalent of losing a high school classroom a week, roughly 22 kids. We have made some progress. It was about 110,000 in 2023, dropped to about 80,600 in 2024. It should drop more with the border being secured, but the cartels are really smart, and they have a very good business model. And I'm not encouraging this. I'm just acknowledging this because it shows how to fight this. We have a concern of supply and demand. I look at both sides equally. That's the supply, the cartels. The demand is why are we choosing this stuff. We need to look at changing why we're choosing to do these things. But the supply part, the cartels started moving their operations to 2 different places before President Trump got elected because they looked at the odds and felt like he was going to get elected. So they started moving all their factories and precursors to Canada. So it's pouring in through Canada now, okay, because it can. And we've really cut off a lot from the southern border, but it's still a lot. I mean, 80,000, 70,000 a year is a lot, okay? Then they moved it to, they never did before because it was just logistics, to Australia, New Zealand, and Europe. They're starting to get hit with fentanyl now, the market. The one thing the cartel is doing, it just makes total sense. China stopped selling fentanyl precursors directly in the United States and selling fentanyl in the United States. They moved their manufacturing out of China to a certain degree to India. So we talk about China, but that's one way of skirting it. It all goes to Mexico. They would send chemists to Mexico to teach them how to make fentanyl. The cartel is almost pretty much done with China, that we don't need you and can cut you out of this and get our own and do our own stuff. It only makes sense. I mean, you've seen Breaking Bad?
It's cheap and easy. It's a big, big business.
So why I wanted to talk to you is that, I know we've had issues throughout the years in Laguna. 2 areas. What does the city government feel about this and their perspective on what and how to do, and also the school district? Because I get a sense of where I'm at in Laguna, and I will apologize if I'm wrong, but in the several attempts I've made to want to be able to at least have discussions and talk about this at the city level and the school level, it falls on deaf ears. And I think a lot of it, if I have to guess, speculate that maybe it hurts tourism, or it's something we really don't want to talk about, or it's like birth control. If we talk about condoms, they're going to encourage that. I don't think that's the case. I think it's about empowerment from both parents and kids.
I don't see that in Newport or around the county. I think we're, as evidenced by the downward trend, I think the stats were 44% decline in fentanyl-related deaths since 2022, which is, again, good news, but still the numbers are way too large, and we can do so much more. I think part of that is education, and part of that is access to Narcan, to distributing and making it free and teaching people how to use it, especially young people.
Yes.
But again, we have to do so much more. It has to be an effort that's far greater than that to really change what we're seeing happening.
Do you see any pushback from anybody, parents, schools, denial, not wanting to talk about this? Do you see any of that as being a challenge? Or do you see that, like what I said in the beginning, I'm getting fearful that we're losing this message, this importance of it. There's other stuff going on, and it doesn't seem like it's in the forefront as much. other than recently, now we've had some action by the president that's keeping it back in the forefront. He's not forgetting about fentanyl. I thought he would. I'll tell you, I've lost friends over the politics of, what the Biden administration didn't do and what the Trump administration said they were going to do. And for me, my hill to die on was the border and fentanyl and all the related things. Really, it's not just the border. It's dealing with China. It's fentanyl related. And I've said this, if Trump didn't do what he was going to say, I'll be the first guy to go. I got fooled. I was wrong. Bad man. I'm not going to support it. Got screwed. That hasn't happened. And he's not forgotten it at all. Now, nothing's perfect. And it has other related political ramifications. It goes on. It touches everything, as you know. It's not just a single subject. Everything you're involved with is like an octopus. It's got tentacles, right? It's all, it's I don't even know why you do this. This is worse than real estate, trust me.
My husband asks me every day, why are we doing this again?
You'd be great in real estate, because you could just focus like being the therapist today, or the babysitter today. But
you do all those things in
oh my
politics,
God,
too,
I'm a
especially
priest,
at the local
rabbi,
level.
I'm it all. But and I get beat up on and whatever. But
I don't think that there's a lack of desire to talk about it. I don't think there's an avoidance issue. I think it's back to your original sentiment, which is people are either of the mindset that they're immune to it, it's not going to happen to them, or they're just too busy to be thinking about it until
it happens.
Until it happens
Or it happens to
close
somebody else.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's with so many issues that I see people become advocates in a number of different ways, but typically it's something that happens next door, happens in their family, and then all of a sudden, they're screaming from a rooftop, you need to pay attention to this. And I do feel like we have some strong advocates on our side. We have our sheriff, Don Barnes. We do have
I've never
Todd
met
Spitzer.
him. You really like him, the sheriff?
Yeah.
I've just heard of Bianco, and he seems to be pretty hardcore about, clamping down on following the rules and being respectful. Just follow the rules. They're there for a good reason.
But my understanding is that we're starting to incorporate fentanyl education into schools so that we are talking about it. But I used to do a parent education series, and this was one of the things, not fentanyl specifically, but just doing different programs to help parents with just basic tools on a variety of things. It's so difficult to be a parent these days, but of course it's so much harder to be a kid.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's a good quote.
It's just, again,
That should be your tagline when you run next time.
I mean, this was why I started this parent education series for the Newport Beach Foundation. And it's just overwhelming. It's all of these things coming at you every day, and you're everyone's busy. You're doing your daily life, and kids have all of these things coming at them, and they have access to way more than we ever did as
Everything.
kids. Everything. Information is
everything. There's nothing that's not available, and it's evolving where it's not even real. Like the stuff I was doing last night, creating these videos, but it's like you don't even know if it's so good. You don't know if it's truth.
No, it doesn't.
You
It
see
doesn't
stuff
matter.
out there. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, I was looking at something that came across last night. Some notable person died. That's how I wanted. It didn't even. It's fake news. I mean, the fake news is getting so good. I mean, truly created fake news to be fake by, I don't know who's doing it. It's you look at AI and these people, they're so real. You don't know if it's really them saying things.
Yeah, and they're young, developing minds. They certainly can't discern
No.
one from the other. But I think the most important thing that I heard in doing all of these parent education programs was from a CHOC therapist or child psychologist who ran the teen program there at the time, and she said, just go and sit at the edge of your child's bed at the end of the day, however old, and just sit there, and you'll see they'll just start to talk to you. And it's true, it works. Rather than
Hey,
trying
let's
to talk
talk.
at them. Yeah.
Let's
Whereas
have a
my mom
talk.
used to do trap you in the car, when you're on the way from one place to another, and you're kind of a sitting duck.
When my kids were younger, they went to J. Sarah and St. Margaret's, and then the public school system in Laguna. And there was only they played volleyball, so there was the traveling on the toll road from Newport Coast to out there, San Clemente, Ladera, all that stuff. And when I pick them up from school, this was typical. I would go, "Hey, how was school today?" "Good." "What'd you learn?" "Nothing."
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then we would sit there in the car. I made a promise to myself. Well, first of all, was I'm never going to miss anything they do, ever. So I was at every event they did, and every part of their life. This is, just being a spectator. My dad worked 3 jobs so that we could get out of where we were growing up in a East LA Hispanic ghetto to go to college, but that's how he showed love. He worked to sacrifice, but he was never there. So I didn't understand that till I was older, that's how he showed love to us. And I respected that greatly because it was a great sacrifice. But it motivated me to be successful enough where I would never going to miss my kids' stuff. I really think I left millions of dollars and a completely different financial life on the table, but I will have no regrets on my deathbed. So I made this rule: I will never answer the cell phone in the car with the kids unless it was an emergency. Like, "Hey guys, mom's calling. She's saying I got to take this." It's mom. But even if it was business, and you can wait 30 minutes, unless somebody sent me a 911 text or something. And so we would talk all the time on the toll road. Just how they would talk about things.
Yeah.
So we would just get to hang. After sports, I was never one of those dads that said, "Well, if you should have done this or did this or everything." I was always taught to take the grandfather approach. And the grandpa approach was, your kid may have had the worst day playing sports or whatever it was. Like, it just was horrible. And what does grandpa do? "God, I love watching you play." It makes me so happy. I'm so glad I'm here. "You want to get an ice cream?" And then they just diffuse it. And then maybe
That's
they'll say,
good advice.
and they'll say, "Grandpa."
I need to take the grandfather
Yeah, no, and they'll
approach.
say, "Hey, Grandpa, when I was at bat, do you think I should have hit that one or let it go?" He goes, "Well, Coop, let's talk about it." When they're ready to engage, they'll engage with you. That's the real true. And it develops.
What was Coop like as a baby, as a toddler?
Wow, that's a good question. My daughter is really slight. She probably takes more after me. She's really beautiful. She's 5'1", darker complected. My wife is from Texas, white girl. She's an Osage Indian, like fully vetted, like tribe registered, benefits Osage Indian, but not the, what you would think. It was kind of like that. If you saw the 1823 show or whatever that was, yeah, she was like that gal. So somebody must have married an Indian. But so Cooper was more like Treva. Her brothers are older and taller, et cetera. When he was growing up and he was struggling, he was shorter like me, got picked on. I couldn't believe, I can just say it because the school's no longer in existence. It was St. Catherine's Catholic School in Laguna Beach. I went through Catholic school. I said, we know the mindset was private schools are better than public schools. I would say today, Laguna Beach public schools are far better than the private schools. But it's all individual. So I've learned that it's how it fits. So some things are better, some things are not. It's the fit. It's not just a blanket. But he was picked on for being half Mexican and the prejudice. I thought we were over that, especially in this area of affluence and success. And I'm just, I can't even find the word, not disgusted, but it makes me truly want to vomit that of all the pent-up racial prejudice, discrimination, and hate that came out against Jews recently through the colleges and all this, woke crap during the Biden administration. I mean, and even before, it really came out. in all the universities and everywhere. It's like, wow. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, we really need, this I think what happens when we get our focus away from God in our everything in our country.
We are definitely finding ourselves in interesting times.
I mean, I just could not believe it. It's like, I mean, anyway, Coop, active, really smart, creative, everybody loved him, makes friends with everybody. The thing they say about him is that he was very empathetic, and everybody gravitated him because they wanted to be around his positiveness. He created a happy environment, assigned things to do, but yet if you needed him, he was there. He was always open, and people could talk to him.
Did he come up with the idea to start that Discord by himself? Just had the idea and the initiative and...
Didn't even know it existed. We're sitting we have this thing called a sitting room in our house. Coop passed away on a Thursday night. It was Tuesday. Yeah, it was Thursday night. It was Saturday and Sunday. All of his friends and his closest people came over, and they just camped at our house. We're sitting around talking, and his business manager said, he always wanted to start a clothing line, and he had ideas about it. And why don't we do Coop's Advice merch line and sell T-shirts and start a foundation? And this is a 26-year-old manager, with Warner. And I'm like, okay. I go, where do you get Coop's Advice? He goes, well, he started a Discord channel for kids to open up about mental health and issues of addiction. I go, you serious? So then they show it to me, and I go, I didn't even know what Discord was. Mm-hmm. And I learned it was a gaming channel that, the Call of Duty guys would get on that, and they get live, and they play against each other, and they talk about strategies and how it went. That's what it primarily was. Now it's a huge channel about any topic. Most of the music industry launches their music there first because they'll get they get the first touch if things are going to be successful because it goes right to the genres and the kids' generations. So he created that, and he also wanted to do three things. Discord, create a clothing line to support the nonprofit End Overdose. He reached out to End Overdose a few weeks before he passed away. That's who Zedge is employed by. That's how Zedge and I met each other. His boss, Theo, is a LA City firefighter and paramedic, a recovering addict, lost his fiance or girlfriend to a fatal overdose, cleaned his life up, became a firefighter, paramedic. He is in MacArthur Park, the worst area in Los Angeles that you can be. Theo tells me that on the runs, they might have 20 runs a night, and 15, 16, 17, 18 are all fentanyl or overdose death related.
Wow.
It's just that. Occasional car crash, occasional heart attack, but it's drugs.
I don't see that as much here.
No, it's a different
We see
scenario.
certainly a lot of DUIs, which shocks me on a daily basis that people still drink and drive, especially here
Especially
in
with
Newport,
Uber.
especially with all of the other options. And we also, of course, have people either taking their lives or attempting
Yeah.
to take their lives, whether they live in the city or they come to the beach.
To do it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. It's kind of a magnet. So Coop reached out to End Overdose, and we didn't know anything about it. And then my wife and I went to go meet Theo after to see what it was about. And they do free online training and distribution of Narcan. And so now they've distributed well over 500,000 doses of Narcan out to the country. They've created more than 50 chapters to educate and distribute on college campuses throughout the country. They've grown up, and it's like, that was a cool support. The last thing is Cooper, when he was struggling at 15, right before he went to 16, he was having problems with Xanax and drinking and partying too much. Hey guys, this is a brief announcement. On Saturday, September 20th at 9 a.m., I'll be at the Newport Beach Walk for Lives. Walk for Lives is a national event on this day. Communities across the country will come together to walk in memory of those lost to fentanyl poisoning and to raise awareness about the urgent need to eradicate this deadly poison from our nation. To find a walk in your city, please visit walkforlives.org. Sign up to either host a walk or to participate in the walk. Hope to see you in Newport Beach on September 20th. Thank you and love you more. We sent him to a wilderness program in Utah. Best thing that could ever happen. You're supervised on detoxing. It's like SEAL Team 6. You come out there, you're gonna be at least 90 days. You're hundreds of miles in the Utah outback, in the mountains.
Did he go willingly?
No, we hadn't picked up. I think he would have gone, but he's also smart enough to know how to get off a plane. So we had him driven. They picked him up at like 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. Oh God, it was the worst. We thought it was the worst decision we'd ever made. But he was cool. And they let him go to In-N-Out right before they took him in. So they go in and they go through his eval, they take him out there. He was about maybe 100 pounds, 5'4", 5'5", No, it's not fit, when you're not sleeping and eating and staying up, not the kid that he became. He goes out, you got a 60-pound pack, 60. You got to learn to survive. So you get stripped down of all your stuff, you get clean, you conform, and you make your camp, you make your fire, you make your food. You have nothing. There's no toilet. You get some toilet paper. They dig a few holes for latrines, and then they gotta fill them up before they leave.
This is all while he was actively detoxing?
Yes,
Or?
yeah, because this is what you
Wow.
do. And this is, so he got in there, it was July, I think, very end of June, 1st of July, fortunate for him. And I remember they would say, you'd have to hang your stuff up in the tree to keep it away from bears and stuff. So they would hike, build their camps, learn all that, learn to communicate, and it's therapy every day. They have therapy sessions, and then they move to one-on-one. We got to talk to him by write letters. Then we got to do a satellite phone. Then we got to go visit him halfway through, and he was about 5'7.5" now, about 150 pounds, muscle, hadn't had a shower yet. It was starting to get too cold. If they got to where there was a stream, then you could sponge, whatever, but you just tell us dirty and smelly. And everything smelled like smoke because you're building these, called busting a fire. You're putting it together, right, and building and blowing it. That's your campfire. You learn it. You want to be cold? Then don't learn.
How did you find the program?
Referred by some people that have been through issues with their kids, and resources people had referred us to. We go to the graduation night, and it's the first night of snow. And so we're there, we get to spend the night with them. And so we have this tarp lay on the ground there's Treva, Coop, and me. And then there is just a tarp hanging over. There's no tent, you just string the tarp between the trees, and you got a sleeping bag. And it's starting to snow. So, I'm an older guy, I gotta get him pee. So I've got socks on, right? And it's like, and I'm laying down, and I've been an athlete my whole life, and if I'm not laying in my bed, my back is going out, so I'm laying on the ground, it's 1 o'clock, and I gotta pee, I'm trying to hold it, I'm not gonna make it. And I can't get my shoes on because I'm hurting, but I gotta pee. So I have to go out and snow and pee, and my feet are all wet, now they're frozen, he's snoring, and Treva's snoring. No, she's not snoring, she's asleep. And I'm like, oh my God, this is brutal. And it's the beginning of winter. So then he graduates, we take him to a residential treatment center after that, which is a boarding school for the next 9 months, to finish out his junior year of high school.
Where was that?
That was also in Utah.
Okay.
Probably could have made a better suggestion of a place.
So, yeah, the reason I'm asking is because that's a space I've spent a lot of time and
There's
just-
good ones. This was good, but there are things that went on that they didn't want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business. It would hurt their business. What Coop wanted to do, the third thing was, I'd love to create a treatment center like that later on, and how it should be done. He actually wanted to go back and be a counselor at the Wilderness.
Paris Hilton obviously has been very vocal about her experiences.
Similar.
Yeah. And we have a lot of residential rehabs here in Southern California, so I've been really pushing to get.
Are there some good ones here?
There are good
Yeah,
operators sprinkled here and there. There are also a lot of not so
For-profit.
good. Yes, it is for profit. And I actually had a very eye-opening conversation with a fraud investigator a couple weeks ago about the predatory practices, essentially body brokering, or as he described it, human trafficking.
Yeah.
You know, where they're just plucking you from name the state and bringing them to California. In one case in particular, he described this young man who had been very clear that he hadn't done any hard drugs. You know, the most he had dabbled in was marijuana, and they had text messages from, you know, whoever this was, this body broker person, saying, "Don't worry, we'll teach you." And they got him addicted to heroin, and he came to California, overdosed,
And it's
and
30,
died.
50,000 a month, somewhere in there, 30 to 60 to 100.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's big
They don't
money.
have insurance, so don't worry, we'll get you. We have scholarships for that, or, you know, we have a program, we'll get you on Covered California, we'll get you a plan. And then as soon as their benefits run out, or in the case of this
Yeah.
young man.
See ya.
Yeah, he died before
It's an
he could
interesting
even-
part of human trafficking. It's interesting that you mentioned this. The human trafficking element on the border being opened is far greater than the degree of fentanyl. So, I mean, that's a whole other
That's
topic.
a whole other topic,
You
yeah.
know, and at least that's being curtailed to a certain degree. But it's still, what really blew my mind about that is that the number one consumption of child pornography and human trafficking is not like Thailand or Vietnam, it's the United States.
Yeah, we have a big problem here in Orange County. Anaheim's a big.
It's
hub.
huge. There are 2 rehab centers that I've met. I know one of the owners for years. The other one, we met in this space from Cooper. They reached out, and you know, I trust them. They're legit. They've offered. They have standing scholarships in Cooper's name at each one of these. That, you know, we'll make a bed if there's not a bed available. But for those that really can't afford it, and the criteria, if you want to get well, they'll take them in for free if they can't afford it, and they'll treat them with the hopes of getting it. The one gentleman, Chad, with Hope by the Sea, is a former addict, recovered, but his daughter lost her fiance at 21 to fentanyl. And so it so rocked his world that he said, he's such an advocate about stopping it, that when we met and we did a pod together, I was on his podcast, he just threw it out there. We're going to do a scholarship in honor of Cooper. We've had one person go through it and successfully get through and maintain. There are 2 others that approached me about it, and they bailed out the last minute of going. One of them that I just got one of them was several weeks ago. I just got a DM this morning from his ex-girlfriend that his dad's trying to find him, heard about, that I was able to, he came out of rehab, it was a mess, one of the Malibu ones. I'm just trying to determine if the young man's alive. I don't know, no one's heard from him. I've been looking at he's out of LA, the LA coroner stuff, to see if he pops up there.
Yeah, there's countless stories of people on this revolving door, and oftentimes not only are they predatory in preying on vulnerable population and pulling them in, but then they keep them in this cycle where it's forced
Yeah, of course.
re-entry. Just
They're trafficked,
yeah,
you know, and it's like, these are human lives.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen the film, The Sound of Freedom, that Jim Caviezel did? You can probably see it on Netflix. It's about human trafficking. Tom Ballard, I think it was Homeland Security, that quit his job like a few months before reaching his pension and said he was so affected by these little kids being trafficked in Mexico, little kids, that he felt a calling by God. He had to go do what he could. It's a heartbreaking film, but it's about truth and reality. I recommend seeing it, but seeing it not with your son.
Yeah, that might be a little too heavy.
But
There's also a show called Trafficked, and one of the newer episodes is on this specific residential rehab body brokering issue.
I want to ask specifically some things for you, and then kind of move to wrap up with some things that we have for you. So one of the things I want to ask.
By the way, I was thinking on the drive over here that I haven't probably cried since I got elected. You just have to kind of grow thick skin. And I was thinking, oh man, I hope I don't have like a Oprah Winfrey moment with you, and then you have this ugly crier on your hands.
No,
but
look, I mean, I've
composure.
been emotional. I'm a very emotional person. I will tell you that I have met 2 men since our son died that have been willing, 2 men that have lost kids same way, only 2 men that have been willing to talk. Talk to a number of kids, number of moms, number of other family members, but only 2 dads. I'll be interviewing a 3rd dad who's been a very close friend of mine, a very successful, well-known athlete and ESPN show host and all that. Everybody will know him. His daughter passed away from fentanyl maybe almost 2 years before Cooper, and he's now willing to talk about it. He has not been willing to talk about it at all. It's just, I think, how we're conditioned. I'm not that way. I need to talk about it. It helps me. So I get emotional about it because, man, I do not want anybody else to go through this. And it can happen because, like I said, I'm very careful with my words. When I talk to kids, I don't want to say that, at 18 or 15 or 20, you still got some immaturity. Immaturity, or you're not mature enough. That means then I must be immature, which is negative. So I just say, I don't think you have enough life experience yet. So what I'm hoping to share with you is that empowerment so you can make a different choice when you have to make it. But just so long as you know how dangerous it is, then it's your choice. And if you do make a tough decision, well, we all have to decide what we're going to do. That's the fear that I had spoken to Cooper 2 hours before he passed away. I had a business question, a banking question for him. And I said, dude, I go, are you okay? Yeah. I go, I'm going to Bible study, this and that. I go, okay. I go, look, I just worry about you. I go, because, fentanyl. And he goes, Dad, I'm so aware of that out there. You don't have to worry about that with me, blah, blah, blah. And he had a conversation with Treva a couple hours before that, the same thing. And then you trust somebody.
But he had a fear of dying, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was very cautious. But when you trust him, but here's what happens in that, this is just human nature. If I knew then what I know now, I didn't know that the detox from a benzo or antidepressant is that addictive. I didn't know it's an addiction that you can't get off on your own. You go listen to a podcast out there and search it on YouTube with Stevie Nicks. She'll tell you it was the worst thing to ever be addicted to. After being with heroin, cocaine, all that, it was Xanax. The things she would do to get high on Xanax. And so, but your judgment gets compromised. Just like when you have, I guess, if you have whatever that limit with you, 1.5 glasses of wine, you go, I'm good. It just takes, if you're impaired to the degree that it makes a difference in a bad move or reaction, then you're sitting there, maybe kill somebody. We know the gal really well that killed the family, the parents coming out of Pelican Hill.
Yeah.
Grace Coleman. We know her very well from Laguna. And, she's reached out to us. We've reached out to her. It's very sad. She gets it. It's a little too late. She'll be in her 40s, 50s if she gets out that young. Her whole life has changed. Our life has changed. So like, it's their judgment gets, compromised, and it's understandable, but it doesn't need to happen. He didn't need to die. These people don't need to die. So that's why I'm here in this space, leading into my question to you, or my offer. If there's anything I can do to help you, City of Newport Beach, City of Corona Del Mar, school systems, parents, kids, anywhere, I'm at your disposal in any way you feel that I can help, or help me tone down, repackage, the delivery or something. I'm only concerned that if we can help save one life, it's fine with me.
Yeah, and we can absolutely work together. Like you said, start with the schools. I know we have a number of nonprofits locally that are totally dedicated to education on this issue, and again, access, distributing the Narcan. But I can't emphasize this enough. Your reach is so much farther than what we can do as electeds or, from the city or the school board level. As you said, you're touching people's lives across the world.
I'm offering you that reach because we have a big reach locally, because Cooper grew up here. He was known, he hung out with people from Harbor and from CDM and San Clemente and Dana Point and Laguna, all the private schools, so he's well known. If you need help, distribution, messaging, whatever, I want to offer that to you, because you're the first city representative, politician that has really been willing to discuss this topic. I don't know why some other people feel maybe it's just too busy or whatever, but I just speculate that you're a mom and you have a young son, and you'll give your life to prevent that happening to him.
It's terrifying to even think about. So
I hear that from the other moms that I know. They just go, we're so afraid of it. And they go, I don't know how to approach it. And I'm still, there was one mom that spoke to me recently, really good friend for years. I mean, a very good friend. Met her when I was her high school volleyball coach at CDM. And her son went through, I'm not going to say an addiction issue, but a heavy drug usage. And he was saying, I think maybe back then we were getting fentanyl in the drugs we were using, like the Coke or whatever. And I looked at the time era that he was doing it. It's probably methamphetamine, because that's what was being cut with back then, because it was addictive, and you could get a really big high, but a lot less Coke to be mixed with, so you can maximize profit. Then it became fentanyl, because fentanyl's
cheaper,
highly addictive.
And yes,
highly addictive,
and so much harder to get off of. I mean, detoxing off 2 or 3 times the time it takes to get off of another drug, and then of course,
deadly.
Yeah.
So that's my offer, and then I want to. I'm going to invite you. So I don't know if you're aware, there's another nonprofit called United Against Fentanyl, Paul Martin. He's doing the Walk for Lives in September 20th, 9 a.m. in Newport. I'm chairing that, and so I'll be one of the featured speakers at the little pop-up. End Overdose is going to be there as well, and be providing, they do a booth with free Narcan and training and to help people with that. We're going to have some people from the DEA, this and that. And we're going to do, this is what Susan Komen started out this way. Their 10K as a small event that grew to bring awareness. The point is to bring awareness about the fentanyl problem, this crisis, and to, help continue to educate about the dangers of fentanyl, like what we talked about. The grieving individuals will wear a black t-shirt. Those that are in support will have like a neon green t-shirt. And we'll do a small walk. We'll have the media to see, why are these people walking? And it's a Walk for Lives. It's a coordinated event with about 100 other cities across the nation. So I'd love to invite you.
September 20th?
September 20th, a Saturday, 9 a.m., St. Andrew's Presbyterian.
I'll be there.
And just show up, love to introduce you, say hi, she's a rock star on the podcast, going to go viral, wants to, get rid of this scourge and help us and educate. So I'll send you the information and you can just link and sign up, what have you.
Great, yeah.
And then everybody in our podcast gets a gift. So whether you like it or not, you can re-gift, or maybe your son or your husband, but you got a Coop's Advice Wants hat. And I'm going to give you a little story about that, because I've got my hat. And then this was from our new merch line. This is Treva picked it out because obviously you like the color.
Perfect color.
And so Coop had those 3 tattoos on his chest. And I think it says on the back, let's see. Does it have something on the back? Oh, yes. So it's the Coop's Advice.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, where have I got this here? Yes. And so so there's a story behind this.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's a story behind this. I told you that, Cooper wanted to do a t-shirt line and to sell merchandise to support End Overdose. And so our merchandise has been doing that. We've been supporting them from, the last 3 years, and then having people come up and submit designs. We run contests on the Discord and say, hey, we'll feature maybe 1 or 2 if some of you guys come up with something creative. That this design of the 3 crosses with somebody from the Discord. So okay, if we select one, you're gonna get some free merch, and it's just a way to say thank you because they do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but Cooper's best friend is a recording artist named Jaden Hosler, very successful. Jaden did his first concert at the Roxy in Beverly Hills or Sunset. We were all there, and Cooper met this other guy that created Wants, and Cooper was a big trucker baseball cap wearer, and he saw it out there, and he was wondering, where is this? Because he looked for it and couldn't find it. He thought it was cool. So all of a sudden, they're standing in the audience, this guy Robert and Theo, his now wife. They meet afterwards and talk, and there's some video that we found that we just put on YouTube over their meeting. And he goes, dude, I want to get that. He goes, you guys made that, this and that. And he goes, great. They collabed and made a whole clothing line together.
Love that.
And then Cooper passed away. And I didn't know, but Robert was so distraught and so upset. I never knew. I used to ask people, where do you guys get this? Couldn't find it. Sab, Coop's girlfriend, has his original. We have his other original. And then the dog ate one of them. So Robert finally reached out to Treva 2 years later. And you go, wait a minute, what? Sent us this deck. You guys had this? Oh, we got to do a collab. I kind of have felt that, and we'll see. We're going to come to some closure to the end of the first part of the year with the trial. If it doesn't go to trial, that'll be pleas, and then there'll be sentencing. So you look at it, trial date is, I think it's December 10th. So sentencing is usually like 2 or 3 months after that, something of that sort. So I kind of feel that we're coming to an end with a really
Major
big
milestone.
I don't know how long this foundation is going to go. So maybe the merchandise collaboration ends. I don't know. We go from quarter to quarter to see what presents itself. We kind of go from there. Then we have the documentary that's being done on Cooper's life called Tell Me About Tomorrow. I don't know if you looked at the trailer.
I did.
It's incredible.
I did.
And so the producer, it's in post-production. It's going to wrap up. We have a couple more small edits to do. And it's going to be entered into the South by Southwest Film Festival first, because that seems to be a major launch pad. And then from there, it'll be entered into Sundance, Tribeca, the Canadian ones, hopefully going to Europe. We're already speaking with the various streaming platforms that they seem to be interested in it. And fortunately, I happen to know enough really key figures in the entertainment industry through real estate that offered to help their support, maybe, get it in there for us.
Yeah, that'd be
And
great.
for the purposes of the message. So I don't know what the success will be, but we're just cruising to that. Kind of feel like we're kind of coming to an end of that, of this whole thing. I don't know, but
I doubt it.
I don't know. I don't know where the space is going to lead me. I really pray about what it is God wants me to do. And, man, there's a true resonation. I really feel Coop's president's time where it's like, Dad, get this, you need to go there. So,
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what made you reach out to me. I know you talk a lot about, there's certain things you've put off because it didn't feel right, and then when it does, you
it was
kind
your
of invite
email.
it in.
I get emails like from other people, but your email came up and I go, oh yeah, I remember you from the Wellings, And I go, I just felt compelled to reach out. I go, yeah, this feels good. Reach out, and you responded, and I'm like, okay. And then I was coming up with a different series for, segment for our podcast, and I thought, perfect. And then all of a sudden, all these other doors are open. These people want to talk, and I'm like, cool.
I'm so glad you did
It's
reach
like-
out. And I should be asking you, how can I help? And if there are other people in the community, other electeds or figureheads, advocates that I can help connect you with.
Hey,
if I
look,
can
I'd love if you
help
think
get your message out.
If you think the sheriff is a good guy, if you think, I don't know, if like the DA is a good guy, I mentioned earlier, if it wasn't for the culture of the DEA to really reach out to local law enforcement, we would never, I don't think I'd be here. It would just been a close, done, grieve, move on, suffer. And I don't think I would be here. But that's not what happened. It was because of them that this younger detective, opened back the door, and here we are. And so it's that collaboration of just connecting that helps move this forward. And there's a lot of lives that have been saved by just these 6 being in jail, just off the streets. So how much more can we expand that by being connected with the government officials that really want to get involved, that really feel about it? And I know it's one of many lanes and topics, but it's one that is killing a lot of people still. So whatever you think, I would love introductions to anybody and say, hey, you might want to just chat with this guy and, sit down and see what he has to say, or see if you could use him in his reach, because we have a very big reach.
Yes, absolutely, I can do that.
Yep.
And help spread your message and Coop's story. But thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
All of your efforts.
Yeah, thank
all the
you.
lives
No,
that you've saved,
appreciate
all
it.
of the lives you've touched.
Yeah, thanks for being open-hearted and minded and sharing and being vulnerable today with me and allowing me to be vulnerable with you. So, great job as the #1 guest on the Let's Talk series. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
What up, guys? Strictly for mental health, specifically about mental health. I want you guys to not be alone and they are struggling. 28, come join. I'd really love to talk about it.